Elijah, welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Exciting times, man. Listen to viewers that tuned into this interview. They can see you on season 4 of Doom Patrol, which premiered a few weeks ago. People are already going crazy over the season.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about it in a few minutes. I was doing some research on you. This is like I always like to start off my interviews to get to know you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Made you get to the industry? There's not a lot of research out there for you. I saw that you started off in the basketball world. You wanted to play basketball, and from there you jumped right into acting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I had acted a lot since I was a kid, and my mother had, after I was identified for kind of being kind of highly gifted in acting, I was enrolled in the University of the Conservatory at Cal State LA. So I got to learn how to act and tap dance and different things like that, be more or less brought into the arts. But at the same time, there was kind of this duality I had within myself as an artist, but also a sport or an athlete. So it was artist and athlete. So I went the athletic route, and it took me to college. I went to the University of Puget Sound. I got cut twice, sadly. It happens. But I got pushed in the direction that I needed to go to, which was acting. And I kind of picked up an acting class, I think my sophomore year, and then I kind of got the bug back. And then that started my whole journey into where I am right now.
Wow. Growing up, like, how did you have an idea this is what you wanted to get into though? Like, was there like something you were watching, movie or somebody on TV or?
Mm.
It...
Honestly, I would say blooper reels. Like,
Okay.
I kid you not. I kid you not. I kid you not. When I was young, outside of watching the Titanic and Free Willy till the tapes broke, my parents told me. But I honestly was enamored with blooper reels. I always loved the after the credits, like Rush Hour 2 or even some of the Tyler Perry Madea movies. They would have the blooper reels. And it always seemed so fun. I always thought, oh man, I'd love to be on set and we're all creating this new world. But then cut. Oh my God. Oh man. You got me, or I missed a word. So yeah, I'd say that was the initial, and then later on, it became like different performances or like stories or characters that then I became so enamored by, and more or less brought me to where I am.
Was there a certain blooper reel? I got to put you on the spot that to this day
Mm-hmm.
it's still one of the funniest that you've seen.
Rush Hour 2.
Yeah.
Straight up, straight up. There's the fact of whether it's Chris Tucker saying gefilte fish all different ways, or I think they're doing a series, and it's when I forgot who it was. Man, is that Rush Hour 2 or was it Rush Hour? But either way, it was someone had fallen out of the building. And then it's Chris Tucker kind of like, they run up and they're looking out. He's like, ooh, he did. Or it's like, dang, he's not making it to the next movie. And just the continual joke after joke after joke, that is forever in my mind.
So, speaking of Chris Tucker, we need him to come back for another movie. I miss his movies.
Yes. Yes, and actually, I think they finally maybe be doing Rush Hour 4. I hope so.
Yeah. So throughout your career so far, I mean, I want to see, like, you've been acting for a long time, but
Right.
IMDb only shows you like last 3-4 years. What do you think's been like your biggest accomplishment so far in your career?
Wow, that's a big one. So far, biggest accomplishments. I mean, outside of just persevering through this entire journey, to be honest, has been most definitely a big accomplishment for myself. I will put Doom Patrol and a play that I had done right before I got Doom Patrol. It was called Umoja, and we had like I think a 6 or 7 show run. And it was a play. It was about a 3-hour play. It was a contemporary piece made by a gentleman named Ladarian Williams. And I was pretty much on stage 98% of the time. The whole second act for the plot of the play is very emotional. And I'm going through like all these journeys of stuff to a final point of like reconciliation. But that, kind of coming in every night and having to, decompress, come back, what is the true essence of theater? But to do that, I had not had as much experience to do that, but I learned so much. And luckily, right after I finished my last show, a couple days later, I did the audition for Doom Patrol.
What do you find easier, theater, getting ready for a theater play, or TV film?
Ooh, wow. Oh, man, they have their pluses and minuses. I think in terms of from a performance standpoint, I'd say theater, just because usually, like, it does depend, but I would say you have a little bit more time to rehearse and you actually are with your castmates and your director, and you are all collaboratively creating this thing for people to watch. Whereas in television, sometimes things are happening on the spot and you have to adjust. And a lot of the other work that you're doing is off-site, depending on where people are and whatnot. I'd say that. But at the same time, there are some really fun aspects of television and film that you just don't get in theater. I do like the aspects of being able to do very subtle nuances, like nuanced gestures, and they can be so impactful because it's on the screen, because it's magnified bigger than I physically could ever be. So yes, I go with that.
What's your ultimate goal, you think?
Ultimate goal, honestly, to have a career that allows me to continuously bounce back between television, film, and theater. I think more than anything, I am an actor, an artist, and I really just enjoy telling stories and being a part of different worlds. So whether that takes me to galaxies far, far away, or I'm up in different universes, multiverses, but then at the same time I can do, whether it's on Broadway, off Broadway, or honestly what I grew up in is black box theater. So if I'm able to do something like that and be able to allow people a chance to, wherever my career goes, have a chance to be really close and intimate with someone they usually are seeing on a screen or a television screen as well. And they really feel it. And the fact that also, it's a fun challenge to, if I got to cry in this play, I can't, there is nothing else. I don't have 5 takes. I have to do it right now because, you paid your money, you're right up front and you're like, man, is he going to do it? So yeah, I'd like my career in that regard.
You mentioned back and forth. Is there a place for theater that you kind of like, you will hope to maybe even do a play someday, like New York, Chicago, or anywhere in the world? Is there a specific part you want to hit?
New York, honestly, because that is kind of the mecca of theater. And in all honesty, like, it doesn't per se matter to me whether it's, if I would have the opportunity to grace Broadway, that'd be amazing. If it's off Broadway, still amazing. Like, regardless, there is no hierarchy, at least for me, just to be able to step foot on, because I actually have never been to New York yet. People tell me all the time I got to get out there, but to get out there and put down my own mark, if you will, with so many other greats and just so many, it would just be a true honor and a blessing to be there and to bring something to life and tell a story and add to the conversation.
That'd be awesome. So let's talk about Doom Patrol. Exciting times, like I mentioned about that. You mentioned earlier you auditioned for this. How were you approached for this at first, for this role?
So ironically, the scene that I got to audition for had multiple characters. So so episode 3 had just aired last week. So you got to meet the Detroiticons. And initially I had to read, they had a lot of the parts that were for other characters I read for. So in my mind, I was looking at this as a very grounded and, it's a welcoming home for Cyborg, but that also kind of goes awry. But that being said, I looked at season 3 and it was the Sisterhood of Dada and different things were happening, but I didn't see where this very grounded scene could fit into this very crazy, wacky world. So a good friend of mine, her name's Brittany Horton, and we were kind of workshopping it, and we just kind of landed on this thing of, let's just go balls to the wall. Because honestly, I'm looking at this show, I'm looking at trailers, I'm watching episodes. I don't really know how I can per se approach it. So we just said, let's just really go for it. Let's really have fun. I'm a nerd inside. So, blurred. So it said, if this is you, then by all means, just blur it out. Go as far as we can push it. And then there was another part that was a little more dramatic, which dealt with Cyborg and Deric, and they were talking and more or less having their heart to heart. And that part, I felt like, okay, I could be honest for that. But the first introduction, I was a little bit hesitant in how to approach it. But yeah, we just said, hey, let's just do it.
Are you a big comic book fan? Or are you like, what does it feel to be part of like a DC universe now?
Oh, it's amazing. And yes, I'm a huge comic book fan. My favorite superhero is Spider-Man, but I'd say the one comic portrayal performance in live action is always Heath Ledger, the Joker. I always love it. Ever since that movie, I still can play that time in, time out. But yeah, I'm a huge comic book fan. I mean, whether it's on YouTube, I'm looking at little details about other comics or different things like that. Like, yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to be in such a show like this, for it to also be, number one, a comic show. Irregardless to what I might feel about with my love for Marvel, it's like, no, I am a comic fan, supporter overall. So being on this and the ride that I've been able to go on has been nothing but, man, just a dream, to be honest.
Now, is there like, I don't know, I like watching like the comic shows and movies. I don't know anything about the comic books. Is your character in the comic books?
No, he's
Okay.
actually not. He is, to my knowledge, I say no. Deric Hayes is a new creation. But at the same time, if people are able to figure it out or find it, please let me know. But to my knowledge, he's a new creation. Doom Patrol created, HBO Max certified, for to play the best friend of Vic Stone.
Now, because of that, now is it easier to figure like how do you want to portray the character? Because other times you have other actors that read a book or a comic just to see how they want to play this character.
Yeah, so it allowed some freedom for sure, because the biggest thing sometimes when you have source material, it can be a plus, and it's like a double-edged sword. While you do, from an artistic standpoint, you have things to jump off of, and you can kind of take inspiration and say, oh, I want to add this, I want to add that. Sometimes it can hinder your creative process, because even when you're, let's just say, performing, we're on set together, and you do something that instinctually might be more akin to you yourself, but you might have to think to yourself, but is that in the character? Because then again, that there are other readers and people and supporters, fans, however you want to put it, that are so into it, that know it down to the minutia. So at the same time, like, especially for someone like myself, I would be very careful or critical on my performance and how my portrayal overall would be. But nonetheless, to have this opportunity to more or less create my own rendition, yeah, it was nothing but freedom. And I give thanks to, well, actually, one of my teachers who I got to coach with, his name is Larry Powell, and we coached a lot privately before I would get to set, which like really helped, honestly, just to like flush out the ins and outs, the what's and so what's of Deric.
What do you love about Deric?
His heart. Honestly, me and him, we share a big heart. We love hard. Outside of that, and just the desire to be of service and help, I think that is a big thing and very important, just in general. As they say, whether it's Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility, or too much is given, much is received. So I'd say those two things, whether it's heart, the fact that we care, not only for ourselves, but for the other people around us. We want to see everybody else doing well, but also, mind you, if you heard us, we are sensitive. And I think that too, the sensitivity, but then also just being of service and caring for others and wanting to, in many cases, put another person's well-being before our own.
So you mentioned Vic Stone, Cyborg, is your best friend in the series. How do you describe that relationship now between you two?
It's estranged, to be honest. It's been about, what is it, 8 years that we have not actually had contact. And, just that in general, that an entire decade, so much has gone on. And it's like two puzzle pieces that can fit, but they're constantly being rotated. I know it kind of seems weird, but it's pretty much to say they're missing each other, in terms of communication. Like in episode 3, Deric is very much trying to let Vic know, this is how you made me feel. This is what's going on. This is what's going on inside me. And the subtext of it all is, I'm hurt and I need help. Vic, on the same point, is saying the same things. He's saying, I'm hurt, I need help, but they're not listening to that stuff. They're just listening to the fact of, I'm talking to you, but you're still talking to me, but not listening and hearing what I need you to hear first. So yeah, they just continuously are missing each other. And sadly, it would be great in that episode if they would have just taken a second to just breathe and then just say, look, we're on different planes. We get this, but how can we find some sort of a path that we can start going on to come back together.
Mm. And speaking of Vic Stone, Javon, amazing actor in my opinion. Guys, he's awesome.
Yeah, that's my brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when you joined the cast for this season, they give you any pointers or anything, or anything like that? Give you like a welcome, like
Mhm.
what did they tell you when you first came on the show?
Oh man, so
Enjoy
when
the ride.
honestly, it was enjoy the ride. I give big credit to our costume, head of costume, because right when I got there, she more or less embraced me with a hug
Mm.
and said, "Welcome, you're Doomy." And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm a Doomy." It's like I guess it's like yeah, it's a D in front of the Umi instead of a Goonie and all that good stuff. So I was like, okay, that sounds cool. But to go back to Javan, I mean, yeah, he just set the tone. I mean, I give a lot of credit to him. You know, when I got to prep and rehearse with him, like I said, he is most definitely a brother to me. And in many ways, he kind of not directly but indirectly let me know I could kind of relax, because like you said, coming to such a show with so many things happening and a wonderful fan base and supporters that watch this show so much and are so heavily involved to some degrees, you know, you and this being kind of like my first bigger stint in television and everything overall, more or less, it was just kind of like, all right, I want to be able to just carry the baton. You know, I don't want to drop the ball, you know, so on and so forth. So I give a lot of credit to him because he just his presence and how he was maneuvering and how we would rehearse and stuff allowed me to kind of calm down, settle into myself. And then once it was time for us to get on set and we were just doing our thing and being around the cast and the crew, I mean, it was mainly just a family. And I most definitely was welcomed with open arms. It was pretty seamless, to be honest, you know, just to be able to relate, whether it was some castmates, we played backgammon or we're playing on the Switch or shoot, late nights just doing theater games, you know, just being artists and whatnot. So yeah, it was a wonderful time and just a big family. Like it is very much a family on set as much as it is on screen.
So this show has amazing characters. Is there one
Mhm.
character that you kind of hoped you had more scenes with, or maybe in the future you'll have more scenes with?
Mm. Yeah. I actually really enjoyed um watching Crazy Jane. Like, yeah, just the idea to have potentially done something with her would have been amazing. You know, with all those personalities, it's like, man, which person would I end up talking to? You know, those things like just getting to watch like Larry or Robot Man, I'm just like, man, it would have been nice. And honestly, like Madame Rouge, like just
Mhm.
watching her, Michelle Gomez is super talented. And I really enjoy just her presence as a person, you know, just being able to see everybody on set and different things. Cause a lot of times, really, I was mainly just working with Javan.
Mhm.
So it would have been nice to get more integrated, but nonetheless, to be in the presence was cool.
The great thing about being on shows like this, also, like now you might have an opportunity to do a Comic Con. Would you jump on that right away?
Oh, yes, 100%. I
Yeah.
don't have to think twice about that. Yes, yes. Give
Yeah.
me my plane ticket, or I'll buy it right now.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Oh
So,
man, I appreciate that.
so now what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about that you got coming up or working on?
Mhm.
2023? Is it 2023 gonna be a
Yeah, so
bigger year?
yeah, honestly, I think outside of the biggest thing to see how this run goes, you know,
Mm.
see how everybody responds to the show, the season as a whole, and what that does for me. I'm very excited to see that part. Still, I'm doing. I think I just completed a reading slash hybrid theater performance with a group that I have. So I do that. I also do improv. I got an improv troupe called A Tribe Called Melanin, and we do shows here in Los Angeles 2 to 3 times out the month. So I'm looking forward to getting back to doing some improv with my group. But then on top of that, I had done another episode of Winning Time. So for season 2, I came in to play. That's kind of why I look like this, kind of looking like I'm in the 80s and whatnot. So I look forward to seeing that as well. And honestly just continuously to audition and see what other world and characters I can jump into. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Elijah, lastly, now, how can the listeners, the viewers, find you on social
Mhm.
media to keep up with
Okay,
you?
yeah. Thank you so much. My Instagram is Elijah Rashad. Yeah, yeah, my first and middle name with an underscore. So yeah, ElijahRashad underscore for my Instagram. And anybody that wants to follow me on Twitter, I mainly like and repost stuff, but you can find me at Book of Eli 5. That's my Twitter, Book of Eli 5.
Elijah, it's great. Thank you for giving me a few minutes today.
Oh man, thank you so much. I
Thank
had
you.
a good time, and
See you.
yeah, it was really fun.